Okay, picture your morning commute. Now, what if you could just skip it? All of it. Soaring right over the gridlock below. Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, it's not anymore. This is the promise of urban air mobility, and today we're going to dig into just how close we are to making that a reality. So that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Could your commute actually be by air someday? Well, to figure that out, we've got to break this down. We'll look at the core tech, meet the companies racing to the finish line, tackle the huge regulatory hurdles, and then the big one, figure out when these things might actually be flying over your city. All right, first things first, let's get grounded, pun intended, in the core technology. Because, to build a world where you can just hop over traffic, you need a brand new kind of vehicle. And that vehicle has a name. It's called an eVTOL. So what exactly is this thing? Well, eVTOL stands for Electric, Vertical Takeoff and Landing. The easiest way to think about it, it's basically a super smart, clean, all-electric helicopter. But here's the magic trick. Instead of one or two giant, deafeningly loud rotors, it has a bunch of smaller ones. And that simple change, that's what makes all the difference. It's quieter, and, this is crucial, it's designed to be much, much safer. And when you put it side by side with a traditional helicopter, the differences are, well, they're a total game changer. You're swapping out a complex, gas-guzzling turbine for simple electric motors. That means zero emissions in the air, which is great. But the real win? The noise, or the lack of it. They say some of these are no louder than a dishwasher from the ground. Think about that. That one detail is what might finally make them welcome in our cities, where helicopters just never could be. And this brings up a really important point we have to get straight. The eVTOL, that's just the vehicle. It's the flying taxi itself. But urban air mobility, or UAM, that's the whole system. We're talking the landing pads, the air traffic control, the app you'll use to book a ride, the whole shebang. See, building a revolutionary vehicle is one thing, but building an entirely new transportation network, that's the real challenge here. So with technology this promising, you can bet there's a race to get there first. And it is a massive global competition with billions and billions of dollars on the line. The big question then is, who's actually leading the pack? Okay, so the field is definitely crowded, but a few key players have really pulled ahead. Here in the US, you've got Joby and Archer, and they are both pushing aggressively towards getting certified. But make no mistake, this is a global race. You've got Vertical Aerospace over in the UK, Eve Air Mobility backed by the Brazilian aviation giant Embraer, and then there's the very distinct-looking Volocopter coming out of Germany. Each one is betting on a slightly different design, a slightly different path to the sky. Okay, to make this feel a bit more real, let's zoom in on one of the frontrunners, Joby Aviation. They are a perfect example of just how far along some of these companies really are. And if you want to understand just how real this is getting, just look at Joby's progress with the regulators. They have already cleared 3 of the 5 brutal stages of FAA type certification. This isn't some concept vehicle in a lab anymore. This is a company deep in the bureaucratic trenches, proving to the government, step by step, that their aircraft is safe enough to carry you and me. Which brings us to what is maybe the biggest challenge of all, the rulebook. I mean, building the aircraft is one thing, but how do you actually prove a flying taxi is safe enough for the public? This is really where cutting-edge innovation slams right into bureaucracy. Yeah, having a working prototype is really just the price of admission. After that, every single one of these companies has to navigate this absolute gauntlet of safety certifications. We're talking about rules that were written for airplanes, now being twisted and adapted for a vehicle that's never existed before. It's slow, it's expensive, but it's completely non-negotiable if you want to earn the public's trust. This journey to approval, it's a multi-year marathon, not a sprint. It all starts with the design and the initial testing, sure. But the real crucible, the part that separates the contenders from the pretenders, is stage 2, type certification. That's where regulators pore over every single bolt, every line of code. After that, you've got to figure out the rules for day-to-day flying, and finally, get the government's blessing to actually scale up your operations. So let's zero in on that, type certification, because it really is the heart of the matter. Regulators are asking one fundamental question. Is the design of this aircraft safe? And they test everything. I mean, its structural strength, what happens if a motor fails, that's called system redundancy, the safety of these massive, high-voltage batteries, and even how vulnerable it might be to a cyber attack. They leave no stone unturned. But even for the companies that are deep in this process, there are still some major bottlenecks slowing things down. Battery tech is still this tricky balancing act between power and weight. Public perception is a huge one. Are people actually going to feel safe getting in one of these? And then there's the simple fact that the regulators are basically trying to write the rule book for a game that's changing while they're playing it. Okay, so let's say these companies clear all those hurdles. Where are we actually going to see these air taxis first? I mean, they're not just going to appear everywhere overnight. The rollout is going to be really strategic, starting with the routes that make the most sense and provide the most value. Most experts think the rollout is going to happen in waves. The first wave will likely tackle the obvious, high-value problems. So think airport shuttles that let you skip an hour of gridlock, or delivering urgent medical supplies. From there, you can probably expect to see things like tourist flights or scenic routes, maybe flying over heavily congested bridges, and then finally, the ultimate goal, transforming that daily suburban commute for everyone. But of all those options, if you had to place a bet, put your money on airport shuttles and medical deliveries happening first. And the reason is super simple. They use fixed, predictable routes, which are way easier to regulate, and they serve a clear, urgent need that, frankly, people are willing to pay a premium for. So, the big question, when does all this actually happen? Well, we're in the middle of trials and demos right now. The year you really want to watch is 2025. That's a big one. It's when the US government is set to officially launch its pilot program, and it's also when we might see the very first, though limited, public flights in places like Dubai and Paris. After that, expect a gradual expansion, with wider adoption hopefully coming before the end of the decade. So, let's wrap this up. The technology? It's arriving. The rulebook? It's literally being written as we speak. Which leaves us with one final and really critical question to think about. Are our cities, the infrastructure, the zoning laws, and maybe most importantly us, the public, are we truly ready for our commute to move into the sky?